Hey everyone, Jon here, and welcome to my office, or should I call it my shed. This is just a shed with power, and I've put basically everything I own, video game-wise, in here. And I wanted to give you a quick tour of my setup, how I do the day-to-day, just how do you make a GVG video. So I'll go over things like just my recording setup, to how I capture all these consoles, to my audio setup, and far more. So let's begin with the very, very simple things. For my on-camera stuff, either for the more rehearsed and scripted things, I'll be over here, kind of like this, saying, let's talk about Wii chess, or whatever it is I do. Whereas for the more on a whim things, I tend to just put my tripod behind my monitor with a light there, which is just kind of always behind my desk. And then that light over there, which I move around depending on the situation, I'll usually like put it around here or something, and I'll record like that using my Shure SM7B hooked up to the Elgato Wave XLR, which is just the audio interface for this particular mic. I have two mics, so there's one here, which I use for just generally on-camera recording, but then here's my makeshift booth, which I use for video game acting. So for those who don't know, I'm a voice actor. And so I use this booth here for general video game recording, but also any kind of scripted work where you don't see me on camera. And as you can see in here, or as you can hear in here, the audio should be a bit different when I'm in here and out here. There's no computer in here. I basically got my desktop there, and there's a whole mess of wires over here, but one wire's going over here, and another wire is duplicating what's on this monitor to the monitor that's currently off in here. And there's a Focusrite and a light in there, and a webcam in case I need to show any clients remotely what it is I'm actually doing. So that's my general video, at least camcorder and audio setup. But what about the games? This is where it gets a bit more complicated. So right here we have an Elgato capture card, and these are really simple. Plug them into your PC. You can get external ones. This one's an internal one. And I simply take a modern console, like the Switch, or the Wii U, or the PS4, or 360, or PlayStation 3, and I plug them here, if it focuses, which it won't. I plug them in where it says in, and then out can get me lagless capture to a monitor. But generally it's pretty lagless as it is, so it's as simple as that. Install one of these, and I get some HDMI capture. Very, very simple. But what about other stuff? What about stuff like the Xbox, the PS2, the GameCube, the N64, the Super Nintendo, the Mega Drive, the Dreamcast, the Saturn, or all the stuff on the shelf over here? Other Super Nintendos, NES, another Xbox, an Atari, more N64s, Mega Drives. How do we get all that stuff captured? Well, I'm actually using something that's a little bit outdated now. I use the RetroTink 5X. Usually these boxes are shoved under here, you can't see them, but for demonstration purposes I thought I'd show you. And this is the life and death of any retro capture I do. So I always want to show you guys authentic video game capture. I don't emulate. Nothing wrong with emulation, that's just not how I do it. And the current one is the RetroTink 4K. However, the 5X can already do 1440p, and it does it really well. So it's not necessary, that's more of a enthusiast, heavy enthusiast thing. What I love about the RetroTink 5X though, is first off, you get SCART. SCART is the end-all and be-all, okay? So composite capture looks like this. S-video capture looks like this, and then SCART looks like this. This is what we yearn for. Most of these consoles can do SCART. For those who don't know what SCART is, it's these things. SCART is a European standard which gives you just incredible, almost lossless video quality and makes all these consoles essentially look like they're HD just by giving you the most raw output possible. And then you scale it to 1440p or 4K using a RetroTink, and you just get some beautiful, beautiful results. Does component as well, or can also do composite and S-video, but SCART is generally what I achieve to do if the console can do SCART. Most of these can. Saturn SCART, GameCube SCART, Mega Drive SCART, Super Nintendo SCART, PS2 SCART, Xbox SCART. These two can do component as well, as can the Wii over there, component / SCART. Depends on the situation. N64, problem child. This thing can basically only really do composite. It can do S-video, but it can't do SCART properly. It just kind of carries a composite signal. And then it has a blur attached to everything else, so problem child. If you're going to get N64, I generally just record NSO, because problem child. Everything else, though, totally fine. So what are these three things here? Well, this one right here is an HDMI splitter. And it allows me to choose what channel I want to be capturing from. So this one is from modern consoles, which I just swapped the HDMI around, whereas this one is for the RetroTink, encompassing retro consoles. And a splitter is necessary for capturing PlayStation 3, and also, I think it's over here. Where's PlayStation TV? This thing. PlayStation TV. So I use this for PSP and PS Vita. These have HD CP, which is copy protection for HDMI. And a splitter can just bypass that and pretend it doesn't exist. Anyway, though, so that's the HDMI splitter. We can choose whether I'm on modern consoles or retro consoles. And then this is the SCART splitter. So I've got all of my different consoles hooked up via SCART. This is outputting to the RetroTink. And I can just choose what console I want to flip to. So what's this? Well, this is a SCART switch that outputs at the exact same time. And this is going to take the signal to either let's follow the wires a second. So this SCART switcher is going to the SCART splitter. This one here is going all the way around the room to that TV there. And then that one is going to the RetroTink. So to explain all of that, basically, what this achieves is it allows me to get any SCART input directly on my monitor, but also on my CRT at the exact same time. I originally got this for the light gun video. So all these light guns, you can't use them on an HD TV. I needed a way to capture them on there, but play them on there. And that was my solution. What's the name of this product? The Active SCART Buffer V3. It was quite hard to find this, in fact, actually, so hopefully that helps some of you. And this is the RGC SCART 621. The only shortcoming with the RetroTink 5X compared to the 4K that I found is it doesn't have VGA. So I have this. This is VGA to SCART, made specifically for the RetroTink 5X. And that allows Dreamcast to give you the best possible quality through its VGA output. So 4K has that by default. 5X, you've got to get a little additional accessory. But that is the gist of how I managed to record all of these consoles. When it comes to PSP, I do use the PlayStation TV, but the PSP 2000 here actually has video out. So if I wanted to, I could use component out on there and record straight from the console. It's just easier and better, though, to use the PlayStation TV. We've also got Game Gear up here. We've got the Neo Geo Pocket Color. Can't get video out from those. Got to use camera footage, which is fine. I used to use the, what was this one called? The OSSC. That was good. But another great use for the RetroTink is de-interlacing. And this is great whether you're capturing or just playing legacy games. So the RetroTink has a really great deinterlacer called motion adaptive deinterlacing. And it basically takes 240i, 480i imagery and makes it look 240p, 480p. So basically modern TVs do a very poor job of deinterlacing 480i. And a lot of the PlayStation 2 library is 480i. And it basically makes it look far better than it could on any TV. And just makes these PS2 games feel beautiful to play. In a way that goes beyond image quality. It's about the perception of how the video moves around. So yeah, that's an essential use of the RetroTink and something I recommend that any retro collector, any retro game player uses. And another big thing is my 3DS over here. I got this capture modded years ago. We're talking like 10 years ago at this point. and it has a mini USB out, which I can just plug into my TV, and I'll show you right now how it works, actually. So this is definitely not the best USB cable I could possibly have. It's falling apart a little bit. I can easily replace that. But the 3DS is going via USB to my PC. And then there's a program called 3DS Capture, which is going to essentially allow me to record 3DS gameplay. And I can do things like split the windows and make one of them just really, really big. And it's basically lossless. There's two filters. There's let's see, scaling. There's bilinear, which just blurs it a bit. And then there's also point, which is what I record in, which gives you these nice, sharp pixels. And from there on, I can essentially use the 3DS like a controller and go like, let's play Mario Kart. And you get a pretty much one-to-one image of the 3DS versus what's being output on the TV. So this is a cool way just to play 3DS games on the TV, but it's essential for capturing them. And yeah, this is basically how I record stuff. Just got to remember to move the mouse out of the image because it's recording my window. Otherwise, a little mouse might sneak in. But otherwise, we're all good. We're all dandy. And I think that's generally how I do everything. So I like to have a big collection in case there's ever a small clip or a dedicated series or a game that I want to pull off the shelf and show you guys footage of. These are all my boxed ones. I've got some handheld loose cartridges in these drawers, a bunch of GBA games, some Game Boy Advance games, some just mixed stuff. I said Game Boy Advance twice, I meant regular Game Boy. Silly John. These drawers have all the more legacy cartridges in. We've got Famicom and NES and Super Nintendo and Super Famicom, N64 and Atari and a bit of Master System. Mega Drive, and just various other things, and some controllers I sometimes need. And then drawer of no returns for wires. And we have two other drawers of no returns for wires. Lots of controllers. Lots of mixed wires and another controller. More wires, lovely. And you don't see this. This is just my dryer. It lives in here too. I try and keep that out of shots. But that is generally how I do things. There's also a few more bits over here, like I have my Amiibo shelf with just other miscellaneous stuff. Some Mega Drive boxes, some collector's editions. I wanted to get rid of this table. This was my old desk. But I've been using it just to do some shots every now and then. Also got a little green screen that sometimes I use, but not so much anymore. And I think that's everything, guys. I think that's generally how Jon makes a video. As for what I use for video editing, I'm a Vegas man. I don't deal with Adobe other than Photoshop. What's the reason for this? Basically, I grew up with Vegas. This is what I used to get into video editing. Never grew out of it, and I just kind of stuck with each version as they went on. I like that Vegas is just a one-time payment. You can just pay it, and then that's it forever. No subscriptions. And that's the main reason I use Vegas. But yeah, and you know what? I'm going to show you a little bit of editing this video within Vegas, so the one that you're watching right now. And that is how Jon makes a YouTube video. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. Peace to all of you. Even Felix from Nintendo Life, peace to him too. And here is the Wii Mini. You don't get to see the shelf very much. The Wii Mini's meant to be standing up. It fell. Pikachu, you've done a poor job of keeping that thing up. There we go. That's meant to be more stable too. These things fall down a lot. And you don't get to see up here very often. Look at that. All this stuff too. Usually just sort of see these two shelves when I record a video. But there's more. I swear there's more. Anyway, by Whirly World by Brandon Jones. Bye everyone.